Well, let's go to the US now. Now, I mentioned earlier when I was talking to Alexander Downer that the US President Joe Biden is hosting NATO, but he's also losing support for his run at the presidency day by day. Concerns again growing around his mental fitness. I mean, how the bloke at his age and in his condition can hang in there is beyond me. But a huge blow to the Biden campaign today. I read that a staunch Democrat, a fundraiser, someone who's raised millions of dollars for Biden and the party, the Hollywood actor who's really Hollywood royalty, George Clooney, is turning his back on the president. He actually wrote a column for the New York Times with the headline, "I love Joe Biden, but we need a new nominee." And he writes in that column, quote, "It's devastating to say it, but the Joe Biden I was with 3 weeks ago at my fundraiser was not the Joe Biden of 2010. He wasn't even the Joe Biden of 2020. He was the same man we all witnessed on the debate." Joining me now is Media Research Centre contributing writer Stephanie Hamill. Wow, that's a knife between the shoulder blades for the poor old president, Stephanie.
Yeah, talk about a devastating blow. I mean, I've read it word for word, and I just can't imagine anything worse for the Biden campaign. I'd like to be a fly on the wall in their offices. So, as you pointed out, George Clooney was the headliner for this campaign event that raised almost $30 million for Biden just 3 weeks ago. And in his op-ed, he details that Biden was exactly like what we saw on debate night. What is interesting is that Clooney didn't bother to come out and speak about this after the event. He brings it up now that everyone is piling on. So some people are calling him a hero for speaking out, while others are calling him a coward for not speaking out sooner. But this could definitely be another nail for Biden's campaign coffin, if you will, as everyone is piling on. We see a lot of his former friends in the media and allies and people who've shielded him and provided cover over the years are finally speaking honestly. But again, it's rather ironic because these are the same people who just a few weeks ago were telling us that any video that we saw of Biden that made him look bad, even if it was live or, C-SPAN interview, that it was a, quote, cheap fake, don't believe your own eyes, are now telling us to believe our own eyes. The polling shows that Biden is lagging in some of the key swing states. It's going to be really hard for him to make the case that he should be reelected. And we did recently watch the ABC interview with George Stephanopoulos, and that was supposed to be his comeback interview to prove to the people that his mental acuity is strong. But that backfired. As we saw, it actually didn't do what they intended for it to do. It did the complete opposite. And now, again, people are hitting the panic button. We also learned that there's another interview coming up on Monday on NBC with host Lester Holt, where Biden, again, is going to try to make the case that he's mentally capable to run the country. But I can't imagine that is going to go so well. I'm not sure if you saw the recent reports about these local news stations who interviewed Biden, who were given questions in advance, and yet still Biden failed those interviews. In one of the interviews, he was talking about how he was the first Black woman president. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. It is sad. It's also pathetic. And it's also concerning as an American that this is the person who is in the White House calling the shots.
Stephanie, you and I have been around the media long enough to know how these things work. If you're going to have an op-ed in the New York Times about whether Biden runs or not, authored by George Clooney, you've got to expect Clooney offered it up. I mean, I'm not sure that the New York Times are not going to be sitting around their editorial board table going, I reckon Clooney's turned on Biden. It would seem to me, and I don't know, but it would seem to me that Clooney's gone, well, I've got to step in here. I've got to write this piece. Maybe I'll be the one that sends him over the edge and we can get a decent Democrat candidate.
Yeah, it would make one believe that the New York Times is all in on this effort to have Biden step aside, or else they wouldn't be publishing it, right? Because there's editors and people who make the decisions on what goes in the paper. So we have seen a lot of negative pieces come out in Biden, or pieces questioning, again, his mental acuity. So it seems like a lot of the people in the media are on board with Biden stepping aside. And obviously, there's a lot of question on what that would look like, how that would happen. But I will say there are still a few loyalists in the media who are standing by Biden's side, and some loyalist Democrats who say they're friends of Biden and they're going to stick with them. And when people talk about that, it makes you wonder, well, so is Biden running the country or not if you support Biden? So there's a lot of a lot of controversy and speculation about who is running the government and what things could potentially look like as we continue on with this campaign.
If I told Stephanie Hamill 6 months ago that the New York Times and George Clooney were going to turn on Joe Biden, you would have called me crazy.
Absolutely. And, it is interesting to hear what Hollywood folks have to say about politics. I usually criticize those in Hollywood because they tend to lean left, and it's always the leftists who speak out. But how much weight does their endorsement carry? I mean, it has some weight, right? They have followers. But as you saw in 2016, all the political endorsements from all the big celebrities and stars weren't enough to get Hillary Clinton over the finish line. So, if you look at what's going on in this country for regular average Americans, they are tired of the elitists telling them what to think, how to vote. And when we are dealing with the inflation prices, groceries, the economy, and everything else that is hurting the American people, I really have a feeling that they probably don't care what George Clooney or any of the Hollywood elite have to say.
Let's finish up by talking about Donald Trump. He had a big rally in Florida, and I note that his youngest son, Barron, who's certainly grown up, boy, is he tall, must take after his mother, I guess. He made his first political rally appearance and got quite a reception. Have a look at this.
A very young man is now going to college, got into every college he wanted to, and he made his choice. And he's a very good guy, I'll tell you.
Future presidential candidate, maybe?
I went to check Twitter to see what everyone was saying about it, and all of the Trump supporters were wondering if this is the future of the Republican Party. Barron Trump is a bit of a mystery, right? Because during the Trump administration, he was a minor. And so a lot of people didn't spend a lot of time talking about Barron Trump. Of course, there were some very rude journalists who would target him, forgetting the fact that he is a minor and he should be left alone. But now he is 18 years old, and he seems to be politically active. We've seen him quite a few times with his father. We also heard his father brag about how intelligent his son is and that his son does have an interest in politics. So it is fascinating to see him out on the campaign trail supporting his dad. And as I pointed out, Trump supporters can't get enough of it.
Yeah, he looks a lot like his father, I got to say. Stephanie Hamill, great to catch up. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.